Welcome to Bengals Real Talk, New Stripe City. This is a new segment that we're doing. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. And today we'll be talking about the new signing that the Bengals had of nose tackle Chris Baker. This actually happened yesterday. So this is going to be a new segment, hopefully that I can pull out for you guys that will just give you some insight and highlights on some of these players if you're not familiar with them. If you are, it'll just satisfy your hunger of Bengals news. So just starting off with some things. Obviously, the Bengals signed this guy for 1 year of $3 million, which is a pretty good prove it deal. Low risk, high reward. So overall, I think it's a pretty good signing. He played last season for Tampa Bay. He was released there. He signed a 3 year deal for 15.75 million. So the Bucks definitely had some high hopes for this guy, and he was kind of a major guy on Hard Knocks for those who actually watched it. Right now, he's the age of 30. When the season starts, I believe his birthday is in October, so he will be turning 31 during the season. His nickname is Swaggy. Played his college football at Hampton. You're talking about a guy that's 6'2", 320, but it was reported by Jeff Hobson that he could possibly be down to 300. I'm not sure exactly what weight that he will play at because he's even been reported at 335 in some places. So we'll see what happens once the season gets here. But Hobbs is saying that he's down to 300. So doesn't seem like a guy that has any weight issues or anything like that. Previously, he started his career with the Broncos and Dolphins. I believe he started on those practice squads. Really started to shine once he got on the Redskins from 2011 to 2016. And that's where he also played with current Bengals defensive line coach Jacob Burney, as well as our linebacker coach Jim Haslett. So that's where he kind of really shined, and it was there where he excelled and graded a 82.2 on PFF, and this was after 2016 with the Redskins. Then he actually went on to sign with the Bucks, as I stated earlier, and now he's with the Bengals. So I just wanted to give you guys an excerpt of what PFF said about this guy when he was at the height and where he's currently at. So at his height, which was around 2016, even though it says 17 because that was the offseason, it says that Baker is was a better run defender than pass rusher, but he still created pressure, excuse me, with 13 sacks, 17 hits, and 55 hurries over that time frame. He averaged 29 defensive stops, and Baker is regarded as a complete player and will be a player that improves any defense he'll play for in 2017. So that was a pretty decent analysis of him. However, it didn't end up working out that way, but that could be what you could get here with the Bengals. And it kind of makes sense because defensive coordinator Terrell Austin came out and said that his first priority was stopping the run. And you're bringing in a guy that averaged 29 defensive stops while he was in Washington throughout that time frame. I mean, you're talking about a guy that could be pretty good here. So last year on PFF in Tampa, he actually graded as 68.4. So there was definitely a dip there. But honestly, the Buccaneers defense in general really wasn't that good. So this is a guy that could come in and hopefully match that 2016 production that he had with the Redskins. Let's say I think that this is a good signing because he's likely a guy that will replace Pat Sims. Obviously, the Bengals had Pat Sims. I can't remember if it's the last year or the last 2 years, but they brought Pat Sims back, and things just weren't too great for them with Pat Sims. And I would definitely consider Baker an upgrade over Sims. Sims was more so kind of like a mentor to Andrew Billings, who also struggled last year. So I think that he's an upgrade over those guys. I think he's definitely better than Pico was when he was here. He feels an immediate need, but he's probably not considered a long-term solution with the guy turning 31 next year. He'd be 32 if the Bengals brought him back the year after that. So he's definitely a good stopgap solution, someone that can get in there, possibly start over Billings. So I think that he's a pretty decent guy. So you've heard the good. Let's get into the bad. Obviously, you guys have probably heard the report, excuse me, that he has had some character issues and some character concerns. He actually sparked a fight. If you look at this GIF right here, that's him 92 coming into the frame right there. He actually sparked a fight between the Redskins and Eagles a couple of years ago. After a late hit on Nick Foles, he actually got into it with Jason Peters. As you can see, the tackle right there, number 71, he kind of runs up into the frame here at the end to push him. Definitely started some fights there. He's had some issues in college, and he reportedly had some issues in Tampa Bay due to a late offsides penalty where he was seen afterwards. It was supposedly one that cost him the game, and he was late, reportedly seen laughing about it. But I mean, honestly, like when and I'm not saying that that's not a bad thing or that's not a red flag, but honestly, when you're on a losing team, things like that kind of happen all the time. It kind of wears on some of the players around them, and certain things happen. I mean, we've seen it a plenty, but I don't think that this is a guy that we have to worry about in the locker room. There's some cause for concern because sometimes Marv isn't the strictest or doesn't come across as the strictest coach. But I think that with him having a guy like Jacob Burney there, with him having a guy there like a Geno Atkins or Michael Johnson, guys that keep his head on straight, I think he'll be fine. He also has Jim Haslett. So if these guys were really worried about that, I don't think that they would have brought him in my opinion, if they didn't believe that they could get to this guy. So overall, I give this signing grade, excuse me, an A. I think that Baker can bring a lot to this team. I think that it's a step in the right direction. And you can tell that the Bengals are actually trying to get better when it comes to some of these agent acquisitions. I don't think that this guy will end up being um, following into that Kevin Minter kind of guys that just don't end up really working out, Carlos Dansby kind of mode. I think that he can actually have an impact on this team. He's playing against a lot of talent. He's going to be a guy that is going to wreak havoc, I think, in the backfield. He's going to play feisty, and I kind of like some of the stuff that he did. Not condoning anything dirty, but I like a guy that's willing to willing to get feisty. I think that this will be a guy to definitely keep your eye on when we play somebody like Pittsburgh. But overall, I'll give that an A, and I'll be coming back to you guys with another episode to drop my first mock draft. It's going to be a mock draft that's involving all 32 teams, so something new that I'm doing here. But as usual, you guys leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think of this signing. And as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.